Just going over at 1 p.m. January the 11th, 1944 in Sydney time, 2200 on the Julian days, 2431101. And there are 31,101 Bible verses in the King James 1611 Bible. Now in 1 Chronicles 5:13 there are 7 names. When we add the concordance numbers for each of those names, these total 31106 divided by 7 equals 4443.714. This number is the total count for the word God in 3877 verses. The 714 is Isaiah 7:14, quoting, "Therefore the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel." And that is a reference to Matthew 1:23. Its value in Greek, Matthew 1:23, is 8,880. Quoting, "Behold, a virgin shall be with child, and shall bring forth a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel," which being interpreted is God with us. Isaiah 7:14 has an English gematria of 1064 and is from 1062, meaning the firstling, primogeniture, birthright, firstborn. The 2 verses have an English gematria of 2268 of Hebrew origin. Esaias 3467 and 330, Yah has saved. Isaiah. Now 1 Chronicles 5:13, quoting, "And their brethren of the house of their fathers were Michael, and Meshullam, and Sheba, and Jorai, and Yakan, and Zia, and Heber." 7. These total 31106. Subtract the king's chamber number, leaving 5, which is Abba in the Greek concordance, Father. In this verse, add the words brethren, 251, and house, 1004, fathers, 1, 7651, and these total 40013. 4001 from 947, a trampling, treading down, underfoot. My wife married on April 23rd, 1966, in Hebrew is Lucifer. This is the Hosea prophecy, 1 verses 1 and 2, marry a harlot. My age was 1162.6 weeks or 8138 days, which equals 22.28 years, and is the highest mountain in Australia, Mount Kosciuszko, at 2228 metres. It, that is Mount Kosciuszko, is 169.4 nautical miles from my house in Nell Street, Greensboro, Victoria, and it is on a latitude that is 31680 kilometres around the Earth and is 5813 kilometres from the South Pole. These numbers are Emmanuel, Lord Jesus Christ, which is 8 plus 888 plus 1480 equals 3168. And you, Benedict, will be 31680 days old on the eve of January the 11th, 2014, my 70th birthday. 2228, Zerakiah from 2225 and 3050, Yah has risen. 5813, of course, is the height of the completed pyramid in pyramid inches, 5813. Again, that's the distance from the South Pole, 5813 kilometres. The house on Nell Street. The king's chamber numbers is the risen Yah walking out through the narrow way, the antechamber, at 116.26 pyramid inches wide. My third wife, Michelle, is 1162.6 days younger than I. She gave birth to her daughter Rhiannon on December 20th, 1979, when she, Michelle, was 32.75 years old. That is the number 3275 for Yakan in 1 Chronicles 5:13. The baby born in Geelong, Victoria, Australia, when the sunrise to sunset was 888 minutes. She, Rhiannon, is the mother of Trinity Lee, who was reborn on February 21st, 2004, and Trinity was 8.8888 years old on January the 11th, that should be 2013. No, 2013. 2013. She had to be reborn from her soul that was in my son's baby body, murdered on the 21st of November 1986. I married Pauline on February the 14th, 1987, and add 888 weeks, and it is February the 21st, 2004. My daughter via the harlot, her name Tracy Lee, was reborn on May the 4th, 1968. Sunrise to sunset was 888 minutes for Port Alberni, BC, Canada, when I was 8,880 days old. She was conceived on July 27th, 1966, and Jupiter, 1967, and Jupiter at 88,800 miles wide was overhead for 888 minutes. You had 66,600. Where is your mind, babe? Okay, so she is, yes, she is 11.626 years older than Rhiannon. My youngest, Nicole Eileen, is 777 days older than Rhiannon. This is 2.127 years. 2127 is Zia in 1 Chronicles 5:13. Now, in 1 Chronicles chapter 1, it has 54 verses, and 1 Chronicles chapter 2 has 55 verses. And we have the two added together, 5455, the gematria of them, regarded as inches. Divide by 12 equals 454.58 feet, which is the height of the pyramid to the rejected capstone level. As said, the distance between where my two daughters were conceived, 444.3 kilometres. The distance from my children's mother's parents' home to my stepdaughter's home and her mother, Nell Street, Greensboro, is 777.7 kilometres. From my home, after my family moved when I was 942 days old, to 3 Old Botany Road, Mascot, Sydney, is 118.22 kilometres and is Psalms 118 verse 22. The stone which the builders refused is become the headstone of the corner. The area of the home of Eileen's parents' property is 31101 square metres. The home in Nell Street is in a block that, when measured with a GPS, is 888 metres. The area of the block, 49284 square metres, 4928. Sense of superiority in mental action, properly a pithy maxim, usually of a metaphorical nature, hence a simile. Proverbs speak, in Proverbs utter. It leads to 49:10, Marshall, to rule, dominion, governor, reign, rule, have power. 49:11, Marshall, to liken, that is from 49:12, and 49:12, to use figurative language. 49:13, intransitively, to resemble, like, compare, use. 49:14, Proverbs, speak, in Proverbs utter. Matthew 13:13, therefore I speak to them in parables, because they seeing see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. 13:34, and all these things spake Jesus unto the multitude in parables, and without a parable spake he not unto them. Now, the distance between the three different locations totals 1471 kilometres. The 1471 tells the story linking 888 and 31101, the Bible verse total, and the distance to the South Pole, 5813, from Nell Street. Its 4 sides at Nell Street totals 888 metres. I met Michelle at a dinner dance for over 28-year-olds called Rembrandt's on May the 11th, 1997. I had left Australia in 1989 on the same date 8 years prior. In 1977 in Canada, I painted Rembrandt's Man in the Golden Helmet with my own face at the time. I painted 63 colours in the window. A reference to Isaiah 63. Michelle is Mary Magdalene, whom I cast out 7 devils. However, when she was reborn, they returned with 7 times 7, and repeatedly she fell to evil. This life is her end. Her dates, Michelle Nye, of existence and her age when she gave birth to her daughter Rhiannon, December 20th, 1977, we see that the first eclipse after lunation 0 was set in the 19th of December, was set on December the 18th, 1922. We add her age number to that eclipse, March 17th, 1923, and arrive at the last before the Mayan calendar, December 21st, 2012, is 32750 days. As a woman, she has absolutely no compassion and will always find the evil rather than seek good. I purchased a 1698 Bible at an auction in the USA. The Bible was owned by the Gardner family. I was conceived on Gardner's Road at 433 and attended the first day of school at Gardner's Road College. Left to attend Catholic, nuns and then brothers, and finally back to Gardner's Road. In the Bible are dates of the family members' births and deaths. One boy lived 777 days. Yes, this is the 1698 Bible, King James 1698. Now the distance from the date when the boy died, Wednesday the 17th of March 1802, and March the 17th, 1923, the first eclipse, was 44194 days or 6313 weeks. For 4194 from 4191 is death, concretely the dead, their place or state. Hades, pestilence, ruin, dead, death, die. The distance in time between the death of the baby, Wednesday 17th March 1802, and the last solar eclipse of 2012, aligning with the 202nd masonry layer of the pyramid, Wednesday 14th November 2012, was 210.66 years. Psalms 144:12, that our sons may be as plants grown up in their place, that our daughters may be as cornerstones, polished after the similitude of a palace. Corner, in the Hebrew dictionary, 2106, currently from the same root as 2099, an angle as projecting, a corner column or cornerstone. The 144,000 from the Revelation chapter 14, verses 3 and 4, are represented by the 144,000 alabaster limestones originally encasing the pyramid. They weighed 7 tons, representing 7 potential reincarnations, that is 7 tons each. The stones were cut and polished, perfectly likened to the accuracy of opticians' lenses in precision. These were cemented together with cement so strong that when forced apart by thieves, the alabaster material broke, not the cement. All around the world there are wonders built by angels. The only country without these wonders is Australia, indicating the Queen's chamber as to being unfinished, where paradise is to be built. All throughout the world are structures of impossible engineering accomplishments the modern nations could not accomplish. Quarried stone often weighing more than 1,000 tons, lifted, transported, shaped and fitted to precision, where a playing card cannot be inserted between them. In Mexico there are pyramids based on pi, and in the structures mica has been combined. The source of this particular material has been transported from the quarry 5,550 kilometres away. One slab is 500 millimetres thick and 70 metres square, placed halfway up a pyramid. In China, hundreds of pyramids, all perfectly aligned with the poles, have been covered with soil by the government to avoid detection by the West. Since satellite photography made this impossible to avoid detection, the truth emerged. The reason for covering them up was who built them. Locals reported that huge, blonde, red-haired, white, blue-eyed men came from the sky, built them and left. The Chinese government did not want the people to promote these as Europeans. They thought they were Europeans. Now the same men are mentioned on Easter Island, where huge statues totaling 888, set for the most part into specific locations, weighing 35 or more tons. The natives retell the Chinese account of who did it. White men, 7 feet tall, blonde-haired, blue-eyed men arriving from the east by air in an angelic machine like Ezekiel's wheels within wheels. The official number of statues on Easter Island is 887, but this is not counting Asherah, the wife of God, emerging beside the 280-ton statue of Yahweh. Lieutenant Cook, after his voyages to the South Pacific, was sent to Easter Island, following Captain Wallace, who had discovered Tahiti and sailed on to Easter Island. Cook was sent to Tahiti to study the transition of Venus across the face of the sun on June the 3rd, 1769. From there, his secret orders were to locate an alternative to Australia, discovered in 1606 by Pedro Fernandez de Quiros on May 15th. It was he, Cook, who wrote in the Endeavour's log on August the 30th, 1769, the sighting of the Messier comet. Then add 88,888 days, is January the 11th, 2013, the Christ's 69th birthday. Cook arrived on Easter Island and his orders were to destroy the Asherah statue. He set up cannons and began targeting the prominent features. No doubt the cannonballs were recovered where possible, but many will be found with a metal detector. The distance to the South Pole is 6,991 kilometres from the centre of the island. The island represents several things. It was discovered on April the 5th, 1722, Easter Sunday. Therefore, a perfect date. As you know, Easter varies, but on that date it was perfect, since it is the anniversary of the resurrection. The interest in the island and the reason Cook was ordered to destroy the smaller statue, it representing the wife of Yahweh being Asherah. Let us make man in our image. Man and woman in our image. That number is the area of the Shroud of Turin. The number for image. Now, the date Cook arrived on Easter Island was March the 11th, 1774. Now, what happened this year in 2013? On that date, I started talking to Pope Benedict XVI. Cook set up cannons and started firing shots at the mother statue of Asherah. We have then 3515 from 3516. To act as a babe, innocently be a child. that number 3515, you can see from the years that Cook arrived at the island, and then to the rebirth date of the Christ, 169.83515 years. So 3515, to act as a babe, innocently, be a child. So we have from Cook, canons to my rebirth as a baby. Then we have 1698, a prolonged form of 3427, to me, I, and Hebrews 1698 from 1696 in the sense of destroying. So we have Cook destroying the mother and the baby. Small wonder there was no welcoming committee at St. Margaret's Maternity Hospital on January 11th, 1944. And 698 in Greek is my name, Mars Hill. The distance from Easter Island to the South Pole, 6991 kilometres, is what the island predicts with the return of the Lord. The year discovered, 1722, same date as resurrection, April 5th, and is when my mother Daphne conceived of the Holy Ghost, April the 6th, Australia time, one day ahead of Jerusalem. To my rebirth date, from 1722 to the rebirth date, it equals 222 years. My official body weight record is 222 pounds at 74 inches, and 222 is 3 times 74. And there are 222 verses with the word truth, and the same for wisdom in the King James 1611 Bible. Jesus and Joshua is 74 in English gematria, and I lived with my second wife at 6 Joshua Way, Cranbrook, near Sydney. Since then, the suburb and street has been renamed. Greek 1722, position, in place, time or state. 1698 from 1696 in the sense of destroying. 6991, properly to cut off, that is, put to death, kill, slay. Easter Island is one of the world's most isolated inhabited islands. It is 3,600 kilometres to the west of Chile and 2,075 kilometres east of Pitcairn. The total area of Easter Island is 163.6 square kilometres, or 63.1 square miles. (3600) from 3601, to grieve, sorrow, torment. 631 is Isaiah 63:1 through to 6. This is the Lord returning from Bozrah, which is Sodom. 631, to yoke or hitch by analogy, to fasten in any sense, to join, battle, bind, fast, gird, harness, hold, keep, make ready, order, prepare, prison, prisoner, put in bonds, set in array, and tie. The statues are fleeing the Lord Yahweh and Asherah emerging from the volcano. In surprise and panic, the statues in total panic are sinking into hell as they flee into the sea. The quarry where the two giant statues are emerging is 3771 nautical miles from the South Pole. In Greek, 3771 from 3772, and the ecliptic of source, from the sky, from heaven. God, therefore, is represented by the Father and Mother coming from heaven through the furnace, the quarry, out of the volcano into the earth. Through the statues of Yahweh and Asherah, the distance around the earth is 22,122 miles, or 35640 kilometres. From an unused root, meaning properly to dig through a pot or furnace as if excavated. Furnace, compare 3600. 2212, to strain, extract, clarify, find, pour down, purge, purify, refine. To seek, specially to worship God. Revelation 22:12, and behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me, to give every man according as his work shall be. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. We see the Asherah statue over 120 tons is blocking the exit of the Yahweh statue. Logic tells us that the carving out of the larger would have been completed to the left, where the smaller is. Therefore, attempting to destroy the smaller by cannonballs is the 888th of the 887 statue count, therefore identifies Jesus' second coming. The priests were found looking towards the volcano. The coral eyes were missing, scattered far from their sockets, their long ears cut off. What does this mean? It references the churches today, loss of spiritual sight and hearing, the truth of God, unable to see the signs of the emerging divinity from the furnace of hell, the coming of the Lord emerging out of hell, the volcano trying us, all like silver, the second coming as a man interpreted out of the Bibles. The centre of the island from my rebirth location is 4941 nautical miles and is Mish Port from 8199, properly a verdict, favourable or unfavourable, pronounced judicially, especially a sentence or formal decree. Human or participants' divine law, individual or collective. In total, 313 Ahu were built and only 125 were Moai carrying ones, most of which only had a single statue on them. Some of these platforms were destroyed during the tribal wars, while Ahu Tongariki was swept inland by a tidal wave tsunami. Later, many of them were restored by specialists. This is an excerpt out of writings about them. Now, 3134 is the number for the coming divine judgment of Christ. I'll stop just here and continue in the next.